are going to move on. We've worked on the delete, project, feature, user story, and task tests. And now we're going to move on to create feature. Okay, so please note that when I originally coded this, I was not doing this like the best way in terms of there's definitely some refactoring that we could do, okay? What I'm going to do, however, though, is I'm going to write the test with it as is because we can always refactor later. And honestly, our test would be a good way to check if we refactored well because we still want the same input and output and we want the function to work the same way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the tests as is and then I can refactor at a later time. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So it create feature. All right, now let's look at what it should do. All right, so it is creating a feature and then it is going to return the projects now using that project ID, okay? That is going to happen if if this project ID and this has this, if this project ID and user ID corresponds to an existing project, which it should because when you're creating a feature on the UI, you're working from the UI. I was writing this extra code because if I'm using the API, I would want to make sure that I'm adding a feature to the correct product. I don't know. I think in the initial scope in my MVP, you wouldn't be able to use it as an API, but I don't know where this project is going, so I wanted to be super thorough. Okay? All right, so it should create a feature to an existing project and return the updated project. All right, let's give that a try. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do, as always, is our input. So we're gonna have const name is equal to, let's say, feature 1. Let's pretend that we have a project with no features and we're adding a feature, okay? So then we're gonna say const description is going to be equal to feature 1 description. We'll have const user ID is going to be equal to, we'll keep it similar and use 15, and then const project ID is equal to, I'm going to say 1. Okay? So now we're going to go through the function and we're going to mock the result of whatever the methods that we're calling from our other services because we already tested those. So here we are going to mock what we get out of project service get user projects. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go look at get user projects and see what we're doing, and it's going to be a project with statuses added onto it. Okay, so I need to go find an example of that. And so I'm going to go up and I see get user projects here is being tested, and we already have projects with statuses. So I'm going to copy it. All right, and I'm going to paste it here. Now we need to edit it a little bit to make it make sense. All right, so in here we have project 1, and then you'll see that we already have features in project 1, so we're going to have to delete those. But let's go ahead and let's make this project 2. So we'll leave project 1 as is. So it's in progress because we have a feature, all of this. We're just going to pretend that that works. And then the next one we have a project, and then I'm going to delete the feature. And so we have just an empty feature array in here. All right, that's our projects with statuses. Okay, so that's what's we're mocking that's gonna come back from that. So let's go ahead and write that out. So we're gonna say projects service dot get users projects dot mock resolved value, and then we are going to do projects with statuses. So that's what's going to come back when we're saying, all right, let's take the user ID and let's go find all of those projects, okay? Then here we are finding the project by the project ID. All right, so this is what's going to come back here. This is what const project is going to end up equaling. All right, if project, so that's true, we have a project, so we can minimize this because that part's not going to happen. We'll have to write another test for that. Then we are going to create the feature, okay? And you can tell that we're not returning anything, so we don't need to worry about it. And then we are going to get the project by ID, okay? So that then we will copy this and we will say const updated project is going to be, and then we're going to paste it in. All right, and then you can see that within features though, we are going to add an object and we're going to have a feature. So let's expand this a little bit so we can get the features. So the feature will be all right, so we actually don't want to do feature 1. Well, it'll be feature 1, but let's make it ID. Let's make it make sense. So ID 2 for features. Let's shrink down user stories. All right, so that's feature 2. So then this is going to be ID is going to be 3. Name is going to be feature 1. Let's just call it feature 3. No, but it's feature 1 of this one. I mean ridiculous because it does not matter. I'm just trying to make sure it's readable for when so feature 1 description. And then what else do we have within features? User story count. Story count 0. And then we're going to have completed user stories 0. And then we're going to have status to do. And then that's going to be it because we don't have any user stories. All right, let's go through though, and let's go to get project by ID to see the add statuses to project to see if we don't have, so project features, yeah, so it looks like we're setting, yeah, we are going to set that, and it looks like there will need to be a user stories empty array. All right. So now let's figure out what's going on with this. Looks like somewhere. Is it? All right. So let's try this again then. All right, so now let's go back here. So we're gonna have projects service dot get user projects dot mock resolved value is going to be projects with statuses. All right, that the next thing that we're gonna mock then is project services dot, nope. The next thing that we're gonna mock is features service. Oh, but we're not returning anything, so we don't actually need to worry about it. Well, do we? I guess we're gonna see. So projects service dot get project by ID, and then we are going to mock the resolved value, and the resolved value is going to be updated project. All right. So then now we can say const result is going to be await service dot create feature, and then we will pass in the name, description, user ID, and project ID. All right. Now we can say that we expect that the result is going to equal updated project. All right, let's go ahead and run this test and see how we do. All right, and you can see for create feature, we passed the test. So let's go ahead and add our other statements in here. So we expect that project services dot get user projects, we expect that that has been called. We expect that projects services dot get user projects, we expect it's been called with, and then let's take a look. We pass in the user ID here. So let's go ahead and pass in the user ID. We expect that projects service dot get project by ID to have been called. And we expect that projects service dot get project by ID has been called with, and then let's take a look, and it looks like project ID is passed in. So let's go ahead and rerun the tests and make sure that that makes sense, and it looks like it does. All right, I also am going to give it a try by making to expect statements that we expect feature service dot create feature to have been called, and we expect feature service dot create feature to have been called with name, description, and project ID. Let's run this, make sure it passes. And it does, good job. And I just said good job to myself. And then we can continue. All right, so the next thing that we want to do is we still want to test the create feature, but now we have a different use case here. This time our use case is going to be that we don't get a project back. Okay, so this project with statuses and this updated project, they're just not going to exist. Okay, so let's go ahead and say should throw unauthorized. All right, should throw unauthorized error when project is undefined. Okay, so let's say we're adding name feature 1. Now let's say project 200. Okay, so when we say get user projects, mock resolved value projects with statuses. So actually we will have project with statuses. It just won't have an ID. It's just not going to have a project with ID 200. So when we do project here, that will come back undefined. Okay, so then we say if project, but if project doesn't exist, so then here we will throw. So we don't have to mock this because it won't be called. And we don't need to do that necessarily. We're going to do our try catch block. So we're going to say try, and then we'll copy this. Await service.create feature with those things. And then we will say catch error. All right, catch. And we will say expect error.message to equal, I don't remember, new unauthorized exception unauthorized. Or is it just supposed to be expect error? All right, let's try that, and then I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those expect statements. And I don't think that's right, but we're gonna try it anyway. Wow, go us. So should throw unauthorized error when project is undefined. Okay, so then we expect error.message to equal, I guess it already says that there, so I'm not gonna worry about that. All right, so we still do expect that projects service.get users projects to have been called, and we expect project service dot get user projects to have been called with the user ID. All right, cool. So that is testing our create feature function here. So now we can go ahead and move on to our update feature. And we already did delete feature. And oof, got lots of these, huh? And we already did delete task. We can close that one. And we already did delete user story. We're getting close though. Getting close. All right, update feature. All right, let's do it. So it update feature. All right, so we're passing in a field, value, user ID, and feature ID, okay? Because we're trying to update our feature. So first we are calling the feature service with update feature. All right, that returns a project ID. And then we are going to get the project, which basically just adding all the services, the statuses to it, and we're going to return that. Okay, that's actually not too bad. So it should call up the features service update feature method and return the updated project. Async. All right, so let's do our inputs first. So we have const field is going, let's just say it's name. Now we don't really need to check all the different fields because we already did that with our update features method in the feature service. So we just need to do like one use case here. If you want to do more, you do you. Feature one edited. All right, say const user ID, say 15, and then let's say const feature ID is 1. All right, that's good. I guess we can do 3 here so we can reuse the data from here. So I'm actually going to steal this updated project here. And next we can go ahead. So we're going to get a project ID back. So we're going to say const project ID, and let's say the project ID is going to be, are we saying it's 2? Yeah, 2. Okay, and then we're going to be returning the updated project. So we can say, let me paste this in, const updated project ID, and then here we're gonna have feature, and then this is gonna be feature 1 edited. Okay, so now that we have all of that mocked out, let's go ahead and do the mock responses. So we're gonna say features service dot update feature dot mock resolved value. We are going to mock the resolved value is going to be project ID. Okay. Then we're going to do projects service dot get project by ID dot mock resolved value, and we are going to mock the resolved value update project. Okay, so now we can actually call it. So we can say const result is going to be equal to await service dot update feature, and then we will pass in the field, the value, the user ID, and the feature ID. Now we expect that our result is going to equal updated project. All right, let's run this test suite and see how we do. Perfect. All right, so update feature passes. Let's add our other expect statements here, and then we will call it on this video. So we expect update, we expect features service dot update feature to have been called. We then expect that the features service dot update feature, we expect that has been called with field, value, user ID, and feature ID. Then we expect projects service dot get project by ID. We expect that to have been called. And finally, we expect our projects service get project by ID to have been called with, and then we're going to pass in the project ID here. All right, and then let's run our test suite again to make sure we're doing good. Perfect, we passed all of our tests. All right, I'm gonna end the video here, and when we pick up, we will move on to create user story. I will see you in a bit.